Two guys either side of 50 with one dream to achieve middle-aged sporting glory. This is the Missing Links Golf Show. Andy Walker, welcome back. This is, if I'm counting correctly, episode 14 of the Missing Links Golf Show. Just remarkable. I, of course, am Steve Hinks, joined by the incredible golfer that is Andy Walker. And Andy Walker, welcome to the show once again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hinks. Great to be here after maybe not the best week last week. Let's face it, but I thought after the Christmas episode, I was on the up and up and getting back into golf and making some progress. And the old Rona got me and took me down. One. Yeah, it took me down. So interestingly though, it wasn't that bad. It was a couple of days. I started to feel a bit ordinary on Tuesday. By Wednesday, I wasn't great, and I took a test and still had some. They were actually expired tests that we had. That's how long they were. But it came up straight away. It was a strong positive, and I'm going, that's not ideal. But then on Thursday, I felt a little bit better. Still not great, and pretty much Friday symptom free. So
that's a quick recovery.
Yeah, like after the episode just before Christmas, that was actually very, very mild. Like, this as I said, this thing before Christmas was way worse than COVID. Now the two episodes I've had with COVID, it got me. But this was pretty mild. A couple of days, just like a common cold. Really, that's all it felt like. And I was back on my feet on Friday, and away we went.
Well, Andy Walker, it's good to have you back. We certainly missed last week. We missed you being fit and healthy and being able to record. So a big apology to everyone. I've got no doubt everyone would have been there just waiting by the iTunes or Spotify auto download going, where is the next episode? So we do apologize for that, in particular, if that's disrupted anyone's commute to or from work. We're very, very sorry, but we're back. We are back, and that is exciting. And I think, that's yet another magnificent segue about our listeners. Probably we should hear from our listeners, because we have had some listener feedback. I don't know. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first? I think we've both had some listener feedback, haven't we?
Look, I'm happy to. I mean, I don't usually do listener feedback. I mean, that's normally sort of your domain, Mr. Hinks. So I'm happy to do some. I had some in-person listener feedback,
face to face. That can be challenging.
Well, it's sort of Skype face to face, which is effectively face to face these days anyway.
Because I mean, as I've always said to people, if you ever want to speak ill of me, please do it behind my back where it won't hurt my feelings.
Exactly. But no, this was actually my dad. So Ted, we normally Skype on a Sunday night. I normally Skype with my folks. They want to chat to the kids and just maintain that contact. So we've got a 6 p.m. on Sunday night. We normally do a Skype session for an hour or so. And Dad and I, we usually have a bit of a conversation about golf, which is quite good. It keeps us with a bit of a connection, and gives us a fair bit to talk about. So he's a pretty keen golfer. Normally plays a couple of times a week, and plays on a Wednesday with the veterans, and then normally sort of sneaks down.
Correct me if I'm wrong, he has shot his age for 18 holes.
He has. He's actually beaten his age a number of times now. So
that's impressive. Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, has also got a hole in one not that long ago.
Yeah, not that long ago. Yes, he did. Yep. Was his first hole in one. So he was pretty stoked by that. And look, has been veteran club champion for I don't know how many years now, but
that's impressive.
Yeah,
nice work, Ted.
He's doing very, very well. And look, I mean, he's just about to turn 83. Like he turns 83 in a couple of
Mm,
months in April. So still gets around. You know, he's got an electric buggy, but walks around with his electric buggy. And as you know, I mean, he plays down at Mollymook, and the Hilltop Golf Club there is, you know, it's named Hilltop
it's
for a
tough.
reason.
It's tough. Yeah, it's up.
It's
It's
very
hilly.
very up and down.
Yeah, some big trees down there too.
Yeah, yeah. So and
I've
yeah,
hit
so
every one
and
of them.
he twice in fact. Um having played all my junior golf down there, yeah, I've seen a fair few
Yeah.
of them as well. But no, look, I love it down at Hilltop, and look, g'day to everyone at Monmouth Golf. I mean, you know, as I spent my junior days down there and loved it. So if you're down that way and you're a member of Monmouth Golf Club, hope to catch up with you guys again soon.
Mm,
But he was playing down at the beachside
mm,
golf course during the week, and he's he listened to the podcast. He also read a couple of books. He's read Golf's Not a Game of Perfect. He's also read Four Foundations of Golf. So he's getting sort of into that mindset and
mm.
wants to still improve his game at 82, and has been implementing some of the techniques of acceptance, and also very much a specific target
Yep.
guy. So you know how Neil was talking about some people it works
Yep.
having a specific
Yep.
target, and others sort of more of a general area. Well, he's and Bob Rotella talks about the specific target, and that really sort of gelled with Dad. So he's very much a specific target. So that's working for him really well. But he shot even par around
No way.
for 9 holes at Beachside. Now Beachside, it's only
I
effectively a
know it. Yeah.
par three course.
Yeah.
It's got it's got eight par threes and one par four.
Oh, they've
Par
shortened
threes
it.
are
They've shortened it then, have they?
yeah, they have. They redid it a couple of years back, 2 or 3 years back,
Yeah.
and might have been longer than that now. But yeah, so the par threes are, you know, a couple of them are just like flick wedges, but there's a couple of 8 iron, you know, 7 iron, and then the eighth hole is still the par four up the hill along the road.
Yep.
Um, but he shot even par. First time in his life he shot even par for 9 holes. And he said to me, he said, look, through listening to the show, reading these books, he said he stood on the ninth hole and he was even par. He knew it was even par. And he
Mm,
said normally he would have stuffed up the ninth. He said
mm.
he would have got too nervous. He's quite a nervy guy, a nervy player. But he said through these techniques and through listening to the show, he said, no, just really focused in on his target. And he said he almost birdied the hole. And he said
How
if it
good is that?
hadn't been for the fact that he'd been through this journey with us,
How good is
he
that?
he reckons he wouldn't have shot even
That
par.
is
So
so cool.
and you know, I sat back and I thought about it after we hung up because we had a bit of a joke about it at the time, and you know, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, thank you, you're welcome, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
We're joking
All the
about it.
regulation. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But then I sat back and I thought about it and I go, you know, because obviously we started this journey for ourselves predominantly, but also to share it because we thought that there'd be a lot of guys out there who would benefit from the journey that we've been through. But to have that impact on my dad,
So cool.
that's pretty cool. Like,
That's
and
cool.
that's that,
That's awesome.
and now he's on the journey as well, and we've got something to
Yeah.
share and something to talk about, and you know, his successes obviously are our successes as well. So, look, yeah, it was a bit of a cool moment,
I
to be
got
honest with you.
tingles on that
Yeah,
story. That
yeah,
is just so amazing. Obviously, you know, I know Ted. I know Ted pretty well.
mm,
After all these years, and I think there's a few things that I love about that story. So obviously, it's the fact that just some of the things that we've been talking about over the last however long, you know, now 14 episodes,
yep,
has actually resonated with him enough to help his game.
yes,
That's awesome. But the other thing that's awesome is that at almost 83, he's still improving
yes,
and
yes,
still achieving firsts.
yes.
That
Yeah,
is phenomenal.
it's amazing, isn't it? Like at
Just
83,
phenomenal.
you can still, you know, improve in this game and, you know, create a better mindset and have that growth mindset that we're all
Yes.
about.
Yeah. That's the best part, I think, of all of that. So many good things in that story.
Mm. Yeah.
But that is just awesome. So good. Well, good on you, Ted. Well done.
Mm. Yeah.
I think new segment for the show. It's the Missing Links Golf Show Player of the Week. Um, and I think the inaugural winner of the Missing Links Golf Show Player of the Week is Ted Walker. So
Yeah.
congratulations, Ted.
Well
Big
done.
round of
Well done, Ted.
applause.
Well done, Ted.
We're impressed. That's awesome. Um, Great piece of listener feedback, Andy Walker. Difficult to follow, but I would say I've got a couple of bits of listener feedback
Yeah.
that came through. One of which was, you might remember I talked about playing at that really enjoyable round of golf down at Wentworth Golf Club,
Yes.
which was now, I don't know, probably
About three
it's
weeks ago.
3 or 4 weeks ago.
Weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe four. Anyhow, during the week, I had a really nice message. Andy from Wentworth in Orange, one of the two guys that I had a round of golf with down there, lovely bloke,
Yep.
sent through a message. Say, just want to say how much I'm enjoying the podcast. I've soaked
Wow.
up quite a few episodes while working on my bathroom renovation. Great stuff, Andy from
Excellent.
Orange. So
Excellent. Good
awesome
one.
work, Andy. I believe Andy's representing Wentworth in the pennants team over the next few weeks. So best of
Nice.
luck. Best of luck to Andy and all the guys from Wentworth in their pennants quest for this year. We wish you well, friends of the
Mm,
Missing Links Golf Show. Of course, we're on your
for
team.
sure.
So that was really cool.
Nice.
And then there was another one indirectly. I don't know if you saw this, but we posted my swing, a driver swing, as one of our reels, one of our get reels on our Facebook page during the week. Excuse me.
I did see the reel in my COVID focused
Yeah,
whatever it was.
in your stupor or something.
Yeah.
It was off the second tee. I stuck the camera on the bag, filmed my tee shot on the second tee. Happy to say I
Yep.
hit the fairway, 254 meters. Andy Walker. I was quite impressed with
Nice.
that.
Nice.
For those listening in the US, that equates to, I think it's around about 278 yards, something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. I think 250 meters is about 273 or
Yeah,
274 yards. Yeah.
yeah. So I was pretty happy with that. I
Yeah.
thought it was a good
For
swing.
sure.
Sandy Wedge, our old friend, roving reporter, the great man Sandy Wedge. We
Oh, yeah.
haven't heard from him for a little while,
Hmm.
but I don't know if you noticed. He dropped a comment on the Facebook page saying, "I'm here to tell you that Andy has a better swing. Hashtag truth hurts."
Oh, does it? The truth hurt?
I thought it was an unnecessary addition to the comment, to be honest.
Well,
But
if he's nothing if he's not direct.
oh, he's direct. I think we've
Calls
been
it as it is. Well, as he
no,
sees it, not
yeah,
necessarily
that's
as
right.
it is,
That's right.
as
That's
he
right.
sees
And
it.
we've
Yeah,
been down this path.
I should say that. Yeah.
There is no such thing as the truth, merely perspectives.
Yes.
So Sandy obviously still hasn't let go of some of the falling out that we had with him around Missing Links Masters time back in
Mm.
November. But I
But
thought,
it's good to see because I take that as a compliment. So he's actually given me a compliment. I think in that comment that he's made.
I think you can read a lot of things into it, because potentially he is. I mean, he has said Andy has a better swing. At no point does he say Andy has a good swing.
Yeah, I give you that, but
He says
again,
Andy has a
it's all
better
about
swing.
perspective, isn't it?
Yeah. And then I think the hashtag truth hurts. I think that demonstrates a focus on the negative towards me rather than the positive
Mm,
towards you. But
mm.
I mean, I don't know. We'll put it out there because the other thing is, I don't know if you remember, but for a period there, Sandy really was taking aim at you,
Yeah, he was.
and actually changed his tune on me after whatever round it was when I posted a decent score.
Mm.
So I don't know. Maybe he's flipped and flopped. Sandy Wedge, maybe you actually need to take a long, hard look at yourself because your inconsistency with your feedback does not, to me, smack of quality journalism like you purport to be. So I'm just throwing that one out there. Maybe the issue's with you, Sandy, and not with my swing at all.
So here's the question then, because we've obviously a couple of weeks back we identified Ernie Els as the first nemesis of the show.
Ooh, this is an
Is
interesting
Sandy
point.
Wedge
I don't
now
want
a
to.
nemesis of the show?
I don't want to go there because the man
No.
has a platform.
Mm.
which he can preach from. And I don't think we need to court that sort of, potential negative press, um,
Mm.
if you know what I mean. So let's just keep an eye on it. We'll see what comes
All
out
right.
of it. Anyway, so anyway, it's good to have you back commenting on the show. The one other one that I do want to put out there, and that is a happy birthday. We haven't done happy birthdays previously, but a happy birthday shout out to a very good friend of the show. If you're listening, you know who you are, and you will be listening because you listen to every episode and you comment on most of them. So congratulations, young man. Still, it's good to see. And he also messaged me to say same person also messaged me to say that he had put some of the lessons he learned from the Neil Smith interview into play
Oh, yeah.
recently
Yep.
around catching himself when he was getting cranky,
Mm.
negative self talk that he wouldn't allow from Caddy, some of those sorts of
Yep.
things, which were really cool
That's
messages
huge. Yeah.
from
Yeah.
Neil, which was really, really good, and said that that helped him when his round was looking like getting a little bit wobbly at one point. He ended
Yep.
up shooting a 78
Wow.
as
Nice.
a result. So good round of
Mm.
golf.
Mm.
Yeah. So congratulations and happy birthday. You know who you are, Alex. Talking to you. Anyhow, um, let's get on to tonight's episode because,
Okay.
as per usual, we've gone over the 15-minute mark with our intro and our listener feedback. But there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's important. I think it's good to acknowledge the listeners. And that was just such a cool story uh, about Ted, our player of
Yeah.
the week.
Yep.
Definitely worth it. So, Andy Walker, it's been a bit of golf that's been played since
There
we
has been
last spoke.
bit of comp golf as well.
It's exciting. It's
Mm.
exciting. I know you've had a round. I've had a round.
Yes.
Um, I'm interested to hear how you went.
Um, Pretty ordinary, to be honest with you.
Ooh, that's
It,
not the answer I was looking for.
yeah, look, and it's really interesting because it wasn't that far after we had our last conversation in our last podcast, and I do remember that conversation, and I was working on a number of things
Mm, too
in
many
my
things,
golf
I
swing,
think. But
yeah,
anyway, that's fine.
which look, I still am
Yep.
when I'm in the high performance center. And I remember your comment was along the lines of that's not really going to work, especially when you get on
Mm,
the golf course. Sort of
mm,
might be paraphrasing a little bit,
mm.
of what you meant. But so I went out on
I don't think I was so
in
negative as to say that's not going to work. I think it was more along the lines of let's see how that
let's see
goes
it
under
works. Yeah,
competition conditions or something
yeah,
along those lines.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was very aware of that. And I decided to go out, and I got rid of all of my technical thoughts, and I was very feel based when I went out and played. And that was very intentional. But the problem with that is that I play my best golf when I have one to two swing keys. And I didn't have
Mm,
that. I was just trying to do it all by feel. And what I ended up doing was going back to my old habits
mm,
of lifting rather than sort of turning with my backswing and making a full shoulder turn and staying down. I was lifting up the old right flying elbow, sort of came
mm.
back into the swing and up over the top, and the snap hook came back with
Welcome back to the snap hook, by the way. It's
yeah.
great to see
Look,
you again.
no, it wasn't, to be honest with you. But it had a day out, and
Oh, that is a
I couldn't
shame.
control it. It was, and I had no understanding of why, because I'd been out the week before, I'd played really well, I'd had one over off the plates, and it all just fell in a heap. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I
Yeah.
actually, from a focus perspective, I felt as though I dealt with the poor round quite well.
Mm,
Certainly a lot better than what I've dealt with poor rounds previously.
mm,
However, yeah, it was pretty. I walked off the 18th green pretty disappointed with how I'd played, not really understanding what went wrong. But
mm,
then, having put a bit of thought into it, for the rest of the week, going into the high performance center and just working back on those swing keys, it just the penny dropped
mm,
that I actually had no swing keys when I was playing on Tuesday. So anyway, I went out. Well, it wasn't last weekend, weekend before, and again played the front nine off the plates at my home club, and I had two over. hit the ball really, really well. I was actually even par with playing nine, and I double bogeyed the ninth hole. I just hit it straight right off the
So
tee, and
you
that's just
should have
not
had a
a
conversation with Ted at this point, who held it together and
yeah.
almost birdied the ninth.
Look, it wasn't a bad thought process. My processes were still really good. I just hit a bad shot, and
And
that
that
was it.
happens.
I parred the hole with my second ball, but walked off with six, and had two over. But I was actually really happy that I'd sort of come back to understanding what went wrong
Mm,
in the comp on Tuesday, and I can now sort of go out and sort of learn from that and go, you know what? I play my best golf when I've got one or two technical swing thoughts
mm.
that I'm focused on throughout the round. So again,
I think
got
you need something in your head.
yeah,
It's almost like I don't know. It's something to hang on to, like a
mm,
handhold or a mental handhold or something along those lines to sort of keep
yep,
you grounded and keep you centered with what you're doing. I
mm,
think trying to be, as we said, even during the conversation with Neil, trying to have that empty mind.
mm,
Um, well, I think it's very hard to do,
mm,
and potentially, like you say, it does actually open the door for other things to sneak in there that shouldn't be in there.
mm. Yeah, look, and I don't think it was the fact that I had like no mental picture at all. I still was pretty happy with my mental processes. It was more that I was just trying to be athletic
Mm.
when I was swinging, which is a good thing in one respect. And I thought I was doing the right thing, but I had no technical thought that I really need. I need that one ideally one, but maybe two technical thoughts when I'm swinging. Because again, similar, I think you used the example of Hunter Mahan, where you could put a curtain up in front of him,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he's so within himself, and he's got sort of that one to two technical thoughts that he doesn't even worry about the target. He knows that if he's got those technical thoughts and technical positions, doesn't matter where the target is. If he swings and makes a good swing, then he will. The result will take care of itself. So that's sort of where I feel I'm playing my best golf. But I was trying to be a bit. I don't know if you can be too athletic, but I was trying to be a bit too feel based rather than
yeah,
having that technical thought.
yeah. No, very, very interesting. That's I think that's good lessons to
Yeah,
come out of that. It at least sounds like you're moving forward, which is good.
yeah, yeah. But I also on the weekend had a really interesting discovery about my golf game. And this
Mm,
is it's specifically in relation to my short game, which is
mm,
one of the weaker parts of my game. And it was more so when I was on the chipping green, and I was just, doing a few practice chips before I went out and played
yeah.
9 holes. And the day before, I'd listened to a podcast that had mentioned Dave Pelt's book, The Short Game Bible.
Yeah.
And I believe Dave Peltz, he teaches the clock method of
Oh, yeah, yeah,
a
yeah,
short
yeah,
game,
yeah, yeah,
which I
yeah,
know sort of you've asked me that
yeah,
previously, and I said, "Oh no,
yeah,
I'm more of a field based."
yeah.
I'd never tried the clock based method before, but when I was on the practice chipping ground, I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to try it, see how it goes. And I hit almost every chip right next to the hole. And I went, oh, that's really interesting. And I went out and played with it. And from 100 yards in, I was deadly
That is
use,
very interesting.
using this clock method. I found it was it just dialed my wedges in.
So you're using, like your 3 o'clock swing or 9 o'clock swing and your 8 o'clock or
Yeah.
whatever with
So
different
it's,
lofts so that you know those distances of those swings with different lofts. Is that your
yeah. So
approach?
what I was using, and I don't, again, I don't know if this is 100% correct, but what I was basically doing is using a PM. So obviously when I address the ball, that's 6 p.m.
Six. Yep.
When you're sort of halfway back, you're at parallel to the horizontal to the ground.
You're at nine.
Yeah, when the club face is club head is parallel to the ground, you're at 9 o'clock, and 12 o'clock. and so on and so forth. So I was using that PM part of
Yep.
the
Yep. Yep.
clock to be able to dial in my wedges. And yeah, as I said, I just found it to be really precise, and I was able to really feel where I was meant to be in, in through my backswing to really dial in those distances with the wedges. So it's something that I'm going to really explore.
Yeah.
I've actually now bought Dave Peltz's book, and I'm going to
Right.
start delving into that clock
All in.
method
I love it.
a little bit more.
That
Sort of
is
like
so.
aim point. I think
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
another discovery similar to aim point,
Yeah,
which
right.
I've never really used. I've known about the clock method for a while, and I haven't really had that much of an understanding of it. But listening to this podcast and sort of doing a little bit of research about it, I just went out and played with it, and yeah, just found it to be really helpful.
It's interesting, I feel like you need to be ready to accept certain pieces of information at the right time as well.
Yeah,
If you get confronted with a piece of advice or a technique or something like that, but it's not the right time in your, kind of time of focus on certain parts of the game, then it almost bounces off. But then if it comes back to you at the right time, you accept it, and then you can really make it work. So
yep.
potentially that's what's happened there with the clock method for you as well. Probably you weren't quite in the right space to hear about it the first time we talked about it.
Yeah, well, I
So
mean, I just always had my what I felt was my feel method with my short game and my wedges, which, if I'm being honest, wasn't really that good. But I
yeah,
felt that was the way that you became good, was just have a really good feel based approach to your short game. This having the, clock method, I felt in my head sort of logically was too technical for the feel that your short game should have, but
it
it's
just
actually the
seems.
opposite.
I know, but it also seems like so many of the pros are using this now.
Yeah.
And it's not for around the greens. Obviously, it's not for when you're sort of in the in the distance where you're just sort of chipping it. It really is that pitching thing for further out. You're looking at me like I'm speaking French.
Yeah, because I was actually using it around the green as well.
Yeah, really. See,
Yeah,
from
even like getting to 7 and 7:30, which is only,
just a
a
small one.
very
Yeah, well, okay.
short.
That's not how I've heard of it used before. But hey, I'm not the expert on this one.
Well,
Let's be honest. I'm the one that's
I'm
still
not an
working on
expert
that. Yeah.
either, but I'm more of
Yeah.
a, okay, what one in all in, let's really give this a crack.
Yeah. Okay.
So I used it all throughout my short game, even with a couple of the bunker shots I had,
Really?
and I felt it was really helpful. Yeah.
Have you thought about putting?
Interestingly, I did. I did think about it. I didn't implement it, but I have actually thought about implementing that for putting.
There's got to
That's
be
that
something like I don't know that you use the clock because you're not going to really, wrist cock on a putt. I hope not.
exactly.
Um,
You're not going to get to parallel with on your
Particularly with the
backswing, but
broomstick that you've
yeah,
got
exactly,
that you're
exactly.
rocking, but
But
definitely
yes,
distance of backswing absolutely will make a
yes,
difference. Yeah.
yes. I have actually thought about maybe what I should be doing is whether it be gauging, just from a eyesight, or actually pacing it out, what the length of my putt is, and then having an assessment of whether it's uphill, downhill, side hill, or whatever, and having having a process and a system for different length parts. But given now I've got aim point, and if I implement that, I'm going to be spending
Oh
like 30 minutes
man,
on each green. So,
you want to sink the
I,
putt?
yeah, I don't necessarily think that I want to.
No, I don't think you need to go that far, but I think
Yeah.
you can still judge that, like you go, oh, I feel like this one's a, go back however far, and
Mm,
this one's a go back a bit further kind of thing. But
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, potentially there's something in it.
Mm,
Good one, Andy Walker.
yep. Yep. So yeah, big discovery. I think that's going to, yeah, have a reasonably significant impact.
Well, I think, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for further updates
Mm,
on the clock system from Andy Walker. Um,
mm. So that's me. There wasn't too much there, was there?
nah, it's only about 25 minutes worth of that.
Excellent.
So,
Excellent.
but no, I think it was good though. I think it was good. Um, I too had a round, had a competition round, which probably went slightly better than yours,
Mm.
if I'm being honest about it. So it was back on Saturday the 27th. So not Saturday just gone, but the one before that. Um, it yeah, it was the second opportunity that I have had to test out Neil's suggested mental scorecard
Oh yeah.
approach.
Yep.
Um, I actually took it a step further this time around, and rather than just having a scrap of paper on the back of the scorecard to jot yeses and nos down, what I did, I'm holding up a piece of paper here, ladies and gentlemen. You see this on the YouTube channel. I came up with a template,
Nice.
which is the
Nice.
mental scorecard. Even got our logo on it, Andy Walker.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, that's good. So there it is, rustling in the microphone. Um, and I broke it down into tee shots, approach shots, chips and pitches around the green, and putts. And I thought what I would do is I'll stuck with the yes no. Was I committed? Was I not committed? But I would break it down into those areas just so that I could see at the end of the day, not just total number for how I stuck to the plan, but also which parts of the game, if there were any differences with struggling with it. Before I get to that, I would say that the process of doing it, because what I actually wrote at the top, you can't probably quite see this, Andy Walker, but
Mm.
I had some thought points, 2 points for each think box, play box, and review box. In the think box, I put down plan the shot, which includes target, ball flight, shot shape, and the second one is commit to the plan.
Yep.
So before you even step up to the ball, to make sure that you actually know what shot you want to hit,
Yep.
and you are committed to doing that, because I think that's probably where I go wrong a lot of the time. Probably a lot of people do this, is you step up to hit the ball without really thinking through
Yeah.
what shot you're going to hit and
Yep.
committing to that shot that you're going to hit. So then the play box is pretty simple. It's execute the plan with full commitment. And for me, the thought was focus on impact. So that was kind of not a technical key, but that was a thought process that I would make
Yep.
sure that I thought about as I was taking the club back, was just thinking about it's all about impact, to get the
Yep.
impact. And I kind of personally, that resonates with me. I like that as a thought process. And then the review box was to actively reinforce what went well. So to, celebrate when there was a good shot, and then to think about what could be learned.
Mm.
So that was the process. So my assessment was, if I did those things, it got a yes. If I didn't do those things, it got a no. Okay. So it was pretty
Yep.
simple. I thought that process was awesome. It really, really helped. And
Yep.
it helps so much on staying in the game, staying in the moment. I think I was 1 over through 7 holes, through the
Oh,
first
nice.
7 holes,
Yep.
which was good. And then I got up onto the eighth tee, par three, hit a 5 iron, tugged it slightly. I mean, it wasn't a bad shot, but I was short-sighted with a bunker between me and the pin. And the pin was at the bottom of the downslope off the bunker. So it was
Ooh.
almost impossible to
Yeah.
get it close without
Yep.
being a magician.
Mm.
I hit, and I was out of the rough. I hit a pretty good chip. It was slightly high on the face. I didn't quite fly as far as I wanted it to. It got over the bunker, landed on the lip, spun back into the bunker.
Ooh. Yep.
Massive big face. Got
Yep.
too cute with the next bunker shot, trying to just get
Yeah.
it over, and caught the lip, came back down again, like
Mm.
just cardinal sin. Then
Yep.
got it, then went, all right, take your medicine, hit it out to the far side of the green, two putted. So it was a triple. That hurt. Um, so I
So
fit
when you said take your medicine, probably should have done that
probably
on
the first time,
the
not the
first
third
shot.
time. Yeah.
Yep. Mm.
But I wasn't trying to be as cute with the first pitch. It just was a bit high on the face on the wedge because
Yeah.
it was
Right.
in the
Yep.
slightly longer grass. It looked like I was being an idiot,
Yep.
because it literally got over the bunker by, like less than a foot, and then zip
Yeah.
straight
Yeah.
backwards. So anyway, such is life. And then, so I finished, that meant I finished the front nine, 5 over, with that triple. So that was disappointing. I went triple and bogey to finish the front nine. So, but anyway, the thing was, because of the mental process, I wasn't worried about that. I wasn't thinking about the score. I wasn't thinking about, what was going on. I was thinking about every shot one at a time.
Yep.
and then had a pretty good second nine as a result. Played quite well on the second nine and finished with a 79. So
Well, that's pretty good.
it was a pretty decent round of golf.
Yeah.
I have never done this before, but I had two successful Texas wedges during the round,
Nice.
which was helpful. Um,
Yep.
so including those was 31 putts, but of course they're from off the green, so 29 putts. And my putting thought, which as you know, as anyone that's been listening to the show would
Yeah.
know,
Been
that
struggling
putting
with of late.
putting thoughts have not been great.
Mm.
But what I boiled it down to, I was trying to get away from the binary thinking of miss or sink, because I think that focus on trying, like being too outcome focused on if the ball's gone in the hole, I think that made me tentative and I was leaving a lot of putts short because of that outcome focus. So my thought process was, for me, a good putt was get the ball to the hole or a little bit past the hole. A bad
Yep.
putt was leave it short. So the focus was not on get it in. The focus was on roll it on the line and get it past the hole. And as a result, so many more putts dropped in the hole,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I think we've covered. I know this is news, people. The putts that finish short of the hole, generally speaking, don't go in.
In most people's experience, I'd say that's pretty
Yeah,
accurate.
yeah.
Mm.
So a 79 became a flagged round, Andy Walker,
Nice.
which
See, and this is something I know that I've said before, and I really think if you could sort of get this part of your game really sort of down pat, then your scores would improve dramatically, and that's getting rid of those high doubles and triples.
oh,
The
without a
amount
doubt,
the amount of times that if you could just eliminate those one holes or two or three holes that you have,
yeah.
you'd be shooting mid 70s.
The annoying thing is with this round, I made 14 pars.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I don't think you need to make that many more pars to get down to mid single figures.
Yeah,
That's not what you don't need to work on. I mean, it'd be nice to make more pars, but I don't think you need to have more pars than 14.
yeah. I mean, if the others were just bogeys, and that's four over instead of
Exactly. And
eight
and if
over, which is what it
you
was.
you might throw a birdie in there occasionally, and all of a sudden
Yeah,
you're 3 over.
yeah. So, but I mean, encouragingly, I am getting longer and longer stretches of good holes together,
Yep.
in between some of those bad ones, and also, plenty of other rounds in the past that triple would have derailed me for the rest of the day, and
Mm.
and I wouldn't have gotten back on track as I did. So
Yep.
anyway, it was a flag round, which is good, which takes the 9.9, because ladies and gentlemen, you remember last episode we got back under the 10, takes the 9.9 down to 9.2.
That's a record, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Well done.
It is.
Well
And
done.
that means that through the course of the show, I've now had an almost 10% reduction in handicap, Andy Walker.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
That's
exciting.
pretty that is pretty cool.
That is cool. It's very cool. Um, and it's led to a topic that I do want to talk about later, which is the 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 feelings of positivity
Mm.
that currently exist. I think you share that, but we'll come to that. So yeah, I think it was good validation of that mental process. So thank you, Neil Smith, and for everyone else, if you haven't already done so, have a listen to the interview with
Yeah, yeah.
Neil. There's so much gold in there, so much gold. That's just one example, but there was a lot of good stuff in there. I mean, also the other listener feedback earlier talking about how Neil's interview helped get him to a 78. So that it's remarkable. And again, how cool is it that doing this show introduces us to someone like that, gives us a chance to have
Yeah.
that conversation with someone sitting over in California
Yep.
who's impacted at the very least two, if not three, if we include your dad's rounds of golf in Australia recently.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, for
awesome.
sure. Yeah,
That is
it
cool.
is. Yeah.
That's
And
really cool.
and again, as we said before, the whole reason why we're doing this show.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, so that was my update, which was good. I didn't get around in on the weekend, but I hope to get out there again this coming weekend. So we'll see how that pans
Mm.
out.
Mm. Well, I must admit, having made from a handicap perspective, having made no progress, I'm feeling a little bit inadequate in regards to
Yeah,
where my golf game's at.
you've had an increase though. So
Hey,
that's
I've got the only title that we've played for.
that's true. No, no, that's not true.
No.
We're one each.
Oh,
You've
because
got
you got the what do we call
the
it?
family challenge.
The family challenge? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, true.
Yes.
True.
So we're one each. Thank you very much. There will be more challenges to come. Now, I think it's probably time to talk about training updates.
Yes.
What has been going on in the Missing Links Golf Show, High Performance Centre, Central Coast, and slash Central West.
Mm.
Andy Walker, what's you've alluded to it, but what's been the story?
Well, look, and again, we had a bit of an interrupted week last week. I really didn't do any training, whether it be fitness training or golf training last week. I felt like I was making some quite good progress before then. And it's working really well having me predominantly working from home. I'm going out and sort of sneaking out a couple of times a day to spend 10 to 15 minutes just working on the swing. And I felt that's had a pretty significant impact on the improvements that I've made. And not only that, it's given me the time practicing to be confident now enough to include playing in a comp. As of tomorrow, it'll be two comp rounds,
Yep. Yep.
and just giving me that capability to be able to play in comp rounds. Which again, I don't underestimate the importance of comp rounds. I guess towards the end of last year, it was just the juggling act of, well, what's the
Yeah.
priority? Because I don't have a lot of time here, but having the high performance center just in the garage has just given my game a whole new perspective, a whole new
It is
dynamic.
so cool. It's so cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's
And
what
and
it's all
it's really
about.
it's really simple. It's cost a couple $100 to
Yeah.
set up in the
Yeah.
garage. Like it's
Yeah.
it's not I bought the net off eBay. I've got the hitting tee that I play off. And yeah, it's not like you see the 10, 15,000 dollar setups that some of these YouTubers have. It's not
Yeah.
like that at all. I mean,
No.
we've posted obviously videos of it on the Facebook
Yeah.
group, but it's a couple $100.
Yeah.
That's
It
it, and
doesn't, and
it's
that's the
made
thing.
such a difference.
It doesn't need to be overly complicated.
Mm,
It just needs to be accessible and to get you swinging and to get you, just moving. Because, I would completely agree. I've been trying to, swing a golf club and ideally hit a ball on a daily basis.
yes.
And I feel like the difference that has made to my, I don't know, club head coordination, for want of a better term,
Yep.
is extraordinary.
Mm,
It's not a
yeah.
technique thing, like it's
No.
not working on specific technique. It's just your hands knowing where the club head is as you're swinging, and therefore the contact that you make with the ball and all those other benefits that come as a result of
Yep.
that.
Yeah. But it's
It's
consistency.
yeah,
And that's the whole thing is it's that consistency of doing that every day. It's interesting because I was listening, talking about one of the YouTube videos, I was listening to Justin Rose being
yeah,
interviewed, and he was talking about, as a youngster, he used to spend hours and hours and hours on the practice fairway, but these days he's a lot more targeted. And
yeah.
he said that now his belief is spending hours and hours and like endless hours on the practice fairway is actually counterproductive. So what you need to be doing is spending maybe, a couple of hours max on the practice fairway and just doing it in short increments. So
Yeah.
that consistency, the short, sharp bursts consistently over a long period of time are going to give you much better results than doing long sessions inconsistently.
I think that's true. And I think I'm not an expert in this field at all, but when you listen to people that know more about this, that talk about the motor learning processes
Mm,
and how humans learn skills and acquire skills, it
yep.
is exactly that. It's consistent short bursts of
Mm,
repetition
yep.
rather than infrequent long training sessions. The
Mm,
same can be said, like kids learning musical instruments and even my own experiences learning guitar is the same thing, that you were better off picking the instrument up for 5 minutes every day, just
yep.
doing a couple little things and put it down again, than do it twice a week for half an hour.
Yep.
The time might add up to be the same, but the frequent short bursts of activity were actually reinforcing
Mm,
the pathways in the brain, whatever the motor learning, sort of specifics are of that, but it works that way. So I think that's
Yep.
exactly what you're talking about.
Mm,
So for
mm.
you, working from home, having the high performance center Central Coast accessible during the workday
Yeah. Yep.
is extremely useful.
Yeah.
For me,
Massive.
I try and I try and hit probably 20 minutes, half an hour of balls of an evening, interspersed with some short game practice in what I like to now consider to be an extension of the Missing Links Golf Show High Performance Centre Central West, which is the short game area of the local golf club.
Yep.
Because it's quite close, we'll absorb that into our
Of
family.
course. Of course.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, that's very cool, Andy Walker.
Yeah.
So,
But one of the things that and I sent you a photo over the weekend. I think it was on might have been on Saturday that I sent you the photo of the launch monitor
yes.
stats that I came out with. So when I was doing a bit of practice on Saturday in the high performance center, I just finished it off with some drives.
Yeah.
And yeah, at the end was trying to get a little bit more club head speed through the ball. But what I'm finding is my club head speed is pretty has been pretty consistent. I haven't gained a lot in club head speed, so it's sitting around that 110 miles per hour. But the thing
It's
that
pretty
has
good. It's pretty good.
yeah, but the thing that's really I've had a lot of gains in is ball speed, smash factor, and then overall distance. Now,
Mm,
what I think this is, and specifically in relation to the swing changes that I've been making, and I'm not sure if this was one of the things that I mentioned, but as a result of coming over the top and sort of casting a little bit, my maximum speed swing speed was actually before impact, was about a foot or so before
really?
impact.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was actually decelerating through the ball. So this was one of the sort of data sets that came out of this the
That is
K-Vest
interesting.
and the TrackMan session that I had in November. So as a result of getting into the proper sequencing, and as we talked about, sequencing is basically from the top of your swing and it's the ground up. Your hips are what
Yep.
moves first and starts to unwind. Then it's your shoulders, then it's your arms, then it's your hands. So as a result of getting into the proper position, means that my club head speed, that 110 miles per hour,
Is that
is
impact?
actually being delivered at impact, which
Wow.
is affecting ball speed, smash factor, and again, overall distance. Now, my ball speed, when I put sort of that video up on Facebook, my ball speed was 151 miles per hour, and I think the distance was about 249 meters.
Yeah.
Now, on Saturday, the ball speed was 156 miles per hour, and total distance was 263 meters. So that's sort of getting up to, I think that was about the conversion was about 287 yards,
Yeah.
which I'm pretty
It's
happy
pretty
with,
good. It's
I
pretty
have to
good.
say. So, this again, it's this whole process and having the high performance center there, being able to work on these things on a consistent, regular basis, I think is delivering the results that I'm after. And, maybe it hasn't on the golf course in competitions yet, but I'm actually pretty confident and really looking forward to what the rest of the year brings. And look, it might not be, I'm playing the comp tomorrow, it might not happen tomorrow. I've just got to go out and accept whatever happens tomorrow. I might play poorly again, but I believe at some stage throughout this year, it's all going to click into gear and away we go.
And I think it will. And that's an interesting topic that you raised, which I do want to probably come back to. Um, because at the moment we're talking about training and practice methods, which is
Mm,
actually quite an important topic. So I don't want to
yes.
derail that just yet. We'll come
Yep.
back to that. And that will be
Yeah.
covered by the word velocity, which I've got
Mm,
on my list.
yep. Yeah. So
Excellent.
they're my big, I think my big things that have come out over the last couple of weeks. So what about yourself, Mr. Hinks? What are the
I
learnings? Where do you see yourself having obviously started this journey and sort of obviously making good gains?
so I've done a complete U-turn from where
Right.
we were which is great. Like the consistency and the sticking to a plan is absolutely fantastic when you look at that.
So,
Um,
so can we say that you've done an Ernie?
or or a Sandy. Is it a Sandy Wedge? Or is it an Ernie Els? Or
Oh, wow.
is it a Rory McIlroy? Because
Well,
when
yes.
you want to talk U-turns,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean
True.
Rory,
True.
no, they should all come back. It's fine, no punishments at all. It's absolutely
Yeah.
fine. It's
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
benefit of the game. We've got to think about the game.
Yeah. There's been some decent U-turns in recent times, hasn't there?
No aspersions to be cast at all, but I think Rory, it's easy to hold that view when you're now staring down the barrel of a massive payout from
Yeah.
the was it that sports equity group that's buying into the PGA Tour. Anyway,
Yeah.
I digress. We're not here to talk about that. We
No.
are here to talk about some of the training things. So my U-turn has been to do with a renewed vigor towards a focus on short game skills. Andy Walker,
Oh, is that short game, short
short
game,
game,
short
short.
game?
That's exactly what it is. Dave McClelland. It has only taken a further 10 episodes from our
Excellent.
previous conversation,
Excellent.
but I
Yeah.
am now on board. I think we mentioned before, I may have mentioned that you've got to be ready to receive a piece of
Yes.
feedback at the
Yes.
right time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I think I've got to that point.
Right.
Um, so I'm now heading down to the annex of the Missing Links Golf Show High Performance Centre Central West down the road, and I've been working on chipping and putting. Couple of funny stories because I think you'll appreciate this. So I've what I've needed to do is add a competitive edge
Yep.
into or pressure or like
Yes.
some consequence or outcome
Mm.
into
Yep.
practice because what I've noticed is I can perform the skills, but then it's so much harder when you're doing it in a pressure environment when you get tense and you tighten
Yes.
up, and that's
Mm.
particularly for the touch and the field shots, putting included. So I was working on this putting drill. So you take 5 balls and put them all about 4 feet away from the hole, but not in the same spot. So circle the hole. Think about it
Yes.
as a
Yep.
clock face at all at different points. And this was on a hole with a bit of slope. So you'll have an uphill putt, a downhill putt, one that's going right to left, one that's going left
Mm.
to right, and variations on the theme. And the idea is from 4 foot or in between 4 and 5 foot, you have to sink all five in a row.
Yep.
If you miss one, bring them all back out
Start again.
and you start again, but you start from the next one after the one you missed so that the one you
Oh,
missed
is the
becomes the
last one.
last putt that you've got to hit
Wow.
to
Okay.
finish.
Yep.
And that does some crazy stuff to your head. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
get around and you sink the other four and you've got the fifth one that you have to make.
Yep.
The last time you attempted it, you missed it.
Yep.
And you're doing it under the ultimate pressure. So, anyway,
Wow. Yep.
it's a great drill. It's a really, really good drill. If you want to get that feeling of having to make the putt. So you're not just knocking putts at the hole and, oh yeah, my stroke feels good, but you've got to have the outcome. And that's the reality of hitting putts in a game, right? Like you've
Yep.
got
Yep.
an outcome on the line. So anyway, I was doing this as the last thing in my training session. This was earlier in or last week. And I'd the number of times I'd sunk four and missed the fifth. And it was getting frustrating. I'm like,
Yep.
I actually want to go home.
Yeah. 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 You can
So
visualize yourself at midnight still going, I need to get
and
this
all these
last
things are
part.
going, oh, for God's sake, is this ever going to end?
Yep.
So the pressure was starting to build. And I'm standing there, bear in mind, just random guy on a golf course on the
Yep.
practice green in the middle of
Yep.
nowhere.
Mm.
Anyway, so I get around and I'm on the fifth. On the last putt, I've sunk the other four. I'm on the last putt and I roll it and it drops in. And the feeling of relief
Yep.
was so big that I actually accidentally let out a massive fist pump with it.
Wow. Nice. Nice.
As I looked up and the practice green sort of adjacent to the 13th tee, and there was a rando teeing off from the social
Oh,
tees on the
nice.
13th tee who turns
Yeah.
around and looks at me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, g'day,
I
mate. And
nice.
he's like,
Nice.
I can only imagine he would have been standing there going, what is wrong with this guy who is fist pumping a 5
Yep.
footer on
Yep.
the practice green?
Yep.
So anyway, if
Yeah.
you're out there listening, that is why.
Yep. Yep.
So that was
And it just
random.
it just reminds me of, I mean, and we all did it when we were young, and I'm sure you did it with cricket, and I certainly did it on the practice green where you're practicing your 4 footer or 5 footer to win the tournament, and you knock it in, and you're there, and you as a sort of 14, 15 year old, and you're giving
Yeah.
yourself fist pumps and all the rest. So it's just really as a almost 50-year-old doing the same thing, just visualizing yourself winning the senior amateur, like,
Andy Walker, I think
rather
it's
than the open.
acceptable when you're 14. I'm not sure it's okay when you're 49 or almost
It's
49.
the inner child. That's what it is. It's the
But I
inner
mean, we talked
child
about we
coming
talked
out.
about this with Ted, like he's achieving firsts at almost 83.
Yeah,
I think it's okay to channel the inner 14-year-old
for sure.
at nearly 50. But anyway, that was pretty funny. The other cool story, I went down this afternoon after work, so before this recording session, to have a bit of a practice. And I got down there, and there was another guy on the practice green, which is a little bit unusual because it's usually
Mm.
deserted. But walked up, and it
Did
happened to
he
be
get an invite to the? Well,
um,
obviously, having been annexed now, it's a private facility.
yeah, no, no, I'll send him a bill. It's fine. But nice guy. And this is interesting. Okay, so Craig, another member of the club, really good guy. So we got chatting about what we're working on, and he's a quality golfer. So he's
Yep,
off, he's off very low single digits and has
nice.
made a few attempts to try and have a crack at qualifying for the New South Wales Open. So
Oh yeah, yep.
good golfer.
Mm.
So we're having a bit of a chat about what's been worked on. He, to be honest, was working on some things that are probably a little above my level of ability on the short game at the moment, about different release points for high, medium,
Yep.
and lower trajectory chips, which was cool. But anyway, suggested, because I said, look, I'm practicing some stuff, but what I feel is sometimes it's easy to do it here, but it's hard to transfer it under pressure in a round. So he suggested that we, just grab 2 balls each, and let's have a little short game challenge at
Oh
four
yeah,
different points around the green to get up and down,
nice.
which was really cool. And it was just another one of those how good is golf moments,
Yeah, yeah,
that we've talked about before, when it'd be really easy to rock up to the short game practice area, see another dude there, just put your head down, do your own
yep,
thing.
yep, yep.
Um, but say good day, have a chat, share some information, and before you know it, we're having a chip off and whatnot, like 2 14-year-olds might have
Yeah,
done
yeah.
back in the day. And it just added such a fun little mini competitive element to a practice session, that was really, really cool.
But
Craig,
isn't
thank you.
isn't that isn't that golf though? I mean, and it's what you can get out of golf. So again, and you mentioned it would be easier to put your head down and just do your own thing, but just being like a little bit social, a little bit outgoing, and starting a conversation with a bloke that you don't know ends up with you having a great experience, and probably now it's going to work out that you'll do this quite regularly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, fortunately, I do know Craig, so it wasn't particularly scary. But
Mm.
I would have been happy to do that even if I didn't know him.
Yeah.
Because it's just practice is good, but practice with purpose is
Yes,
so much better.
for sure.
You get so much more out of it, and in an even
Mm.
shorter amount of time, you actually get so much more out of it. So
Yeah.
it was cool. So I thought that was a lot of fun, and it was something that was definitely worthwhile.
Mm.
So anyway, that's my focus at the moment, is really trying to work on the short game. Getting, and I've really got, and I think it's probably all you need. I've got 2 chip shots, right? Like one which is sort of the bump and run, and one which is trying to go a bit higher and stop. Um,
Look, I
and
think
I'm
at this stage, you're not on the tour. You're not, you don't need to break par to play to your handicap. I think I mean, even me as, playing off sort of five most of the time, I don't really need that many chip shots and pitch shots. And I have a stock standard chip and pitch shot. But I don't, the only time I get away from that is that, if I need to go over a bunker or
Yeah, yeah,
if there's
yeah,
something unusual in front of me. But most of the time, I'm just using a stock standard shot.
yeah.
I
Absolutely.
mean, the club may vary. I do. I'm very much a proponent of getting the ball on the green as quickly as what you can.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I can use anything from my 58 through to a 6 iron.
Yeah.
So
I'd
yeah.
agree with
So,
that.
but it's a similar. It's a similar stroke, and similar technique that I use for all of them.
Yeah, which I think is a bit safer rather than
Mm.
trying to be playing different shots with the same club. But each to their own. I know other people look at it in different ways. So look, that's kind of the training update. But there are a couple of other little items that I wouldn't mind just talking to you briefly about, Andy Walker,
Yep.
for anyone else out there that's listening in a variety of countries, potentially Japan, Mexico, New
We still need
Zealand,
to crack Europe.
US. Yet to crack Europe. It's coming. It's coming. I think we need to focus on the process, not the outcome.
Yeah.
If there's one
I
thing that
think.
we've learned
Yeah.
over the last
Yeah.
14 weeks, so
Yeah.
it's coming. It's definitely coming. So, a couple of things. I last week, because we weren't recording, I went back and I was listening to some of our early episodes, Andy Walker, and it made me think of a few things. There was a few reflections that came out. The first one was that it's actually listening to the way we were talking early on. It was a reminder, which is quite amazing, of how far we've come in a short amount of time in terms of knowledge and understanding. Hasn't necessarily completely translated on the scorecards yet, but I think it must. It absolutely must, because I think that level of just some of the conversations we've had with the likes of Dave McClellan, Neil Smith,
Mm.
and even talking about the books that we've been reading and the
Yeah,
lessons
for
that we've
sure.
learned, really has got to make a difference. There were a few things specifically that stood out to me. One, we mentioned it briefly. It's the word velocity.
Yes.
I love this word. At the time, I thought it was a bit odd,
Yep.
because, and I have no doubt that it wasn't necessarily the word that you were reaching for when you said it. But if it was, genius, well done, because these were my musings on the word velocity. Is that most people will use a word like trajectory or momentum.
Yep.
Um, they're not easier to say than velocity. I've got to admit that.
Mm. Mm.
But the thing with velocity, so trajectory implies a particular direction,
Yes.
okay, because that's really what that word means. Momentum, the definition of momentum is mass times velocity.
Right. Yep.
Okay. If you remember back to the days when you may or may not have done physics in high school,
No.
I did. You
No.
may not have.
I
So
no.
momentum is
I think I attended physics classes.
momentum is mass times velocity. So this makes me think the one of the reasons that I like velocity is, as a middle-aged man, let's take weight right out of the issue. Okay. let's just, let's
Yep.
forget about that
Yep.
and focus on velocity. Um, and it, and here's the other thing: with trajectory, that implies a particular direction. Velocity is talking about the speed of improvement,
Mm.
not merely the direction.
Mm.
Um, so with that in mind, I think I'd quite like to stick with velocity of improvement. I think there's a lot to be said for that word.
Well, it is interesting because I did intentionally pick that word, but it was more of a just I was just taking the mickey a little bit of like the terminology around golf. So yes, it actually was an intentional word that I chose, but it wasn't.
Okay.
I didn't necessarily think that it was going to go too much further than just me having a bit of a joke and bit of a go at sort of the terminology around golf.
Well, there you go. I actually really like it. So I feel like velocity is a word that I want to stick with. So I'm not going to look at my trajectory of improvement or the momentum of my game. I want to look
Mm,
at my golfing
velocity.
velocity.
Excellent. I like it. I like it.
So that now is a thing. Okay. So that was kind of reflection number one. Reflection number two was in episode three. I'm pretty sure it was episode three, when we were talking about our plans, our improvement plans. One of the points that I had made in that was that I was moving into uncharted territory of, trying to improve to a point that I had never done before with golf.
Yep.
Um, Having doubts about how much improvement I potentially possessed,
Yep.
Um, so that was interesting listening back to that.
Mm.
Um, and for a lot of people, you don't have the opportunity to listen to a recording of yourself talking about your potential improvement and your feelings about that. But actually doing that was really interesting because
Yeah.
I listen back to that now, and that's turned around. Andy
Yeah.
Walker, that's completely turned around. I think at the moment, based on some of the lessons learned and the improvements made and the results as a result of it, is I think I feel more positive now than I ever have before about potential for the future.
Yeah. 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 And it's interesting because I do remember you saying that. And I think my comment at the time was, I don't think you were giving yourself enough credit for your past experience and bringing that past experience into the journey that we're on. And I certainly think that having played sport at a reasonable level, that your experience in cricket and having that growth mindset and having performed under pressure, so you understand what that you don't know what it means in golf, but you know what it means in life, right? And
It's
and
true.
bringing those experiences into golf, I think that has certainly helped the velocity of your game.
Nice. See, how good is it? Um, I think that's all true, but I also think another element to it was I was fixating on the outcome
Mm,
and really thinking, I don't know if I can get to a handicap of X, or I don't know if I can shoot scores of Y. Whereas what I feel like I've started to learn is to not think like that, but actually to think about having a process. And
mm,
I feel like the difference now is I've got more of a process both within the round, but also within the practice situation that I know is going to deliver better results than what it has before. So I'm less worried
mm,
about specifically what those outcomes are
mm.
and have a bit
Well,
more trust in the
yeah.
process.
Well, that also comes back to, the comment I think first made by the dashingly handsome PE teacher around having
Ah,
that
yeah.
that
Friend of
mindset
the
of not,
show.
yeah, not being a 18 handicapper, or not being now a 10 handicapper or a 9 handicapper as you are now, and focusing on that process of, okay, my handicap currently is, but what I want to work on and what my goal is to get to X.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's been a really good lesson learned in this process. So it
Mm.
was worthwhile going back, and I would recommend it, Annie Walker. If you haven't done so, go and listen to some of the early episodes. And you'll probably have a few moments where you go, oh wow, that's I don't think that anymore.
Yeah,
Um,
right. Mm.
yeah, really interesting. Um, so anyhow, that's reflections on previous episodes. The only other thing I think left to talk about is future episodes. Andy Walker, we've got some exciting news coming up.
We do. I think next week we have our third guest
Wow.
coming up for on the show, which I'm very excited for this third guest. Very long term mate of mine who you obviously know, Mr. Hinks. But he was my best man at my wedding. He's been I've played penance with him. I've played with him, against him. We've had so many different golfing experiences, and I'm super excited that he's coming on the show.
Yeah, that is awesome news, and might be our third guest, but I think it's fair to say our first interstate guest.
Yes, yes. So we've had a New South Wales guest, we've had an
Yes.
international guest, and this is now an interstate guest.
Well, that is wonderful news. I'm looking forward to it. We'll learn a lot. Andy Walker, are there any other musings that you have before we wrap up for this fantastic episode number 14?
No, I think that pretty much covers everything that I'd had on my list, which is a fair bit, in all honesty. But yeah, lots has happened, as well as the COVID debacle. But yeah, I think we're on the up and up.
Nice work, my friend. That is it for another week. I think, as always, we say Thank you for listening. And please, please, please hit that auto download button. It does make a difference. You know what? Get on, give it a review. There would be nothing better than listener feedback actually written directly to iTunes or Spotify or whoever else you choose to write it to. But do that. Jump on the Facebook page, Missing Links Golf Show at Facebook. You'll find us all over the place. So just give it a good search, and you never know what might pop up, including potentially in the not too distant future, if we can sort out some technology questions, our YouTube channel. That is very, very exciting. But until then, Andy Walker, it's been a lot of fun. I'll see you next week.
Have a great week, everyone.